Sophie was the best person I knew. It was just astonishing how she could be so kind and so courageous in her work at the same time.
It was 10 years ago that I first met Sophie, and almost as soon as we met, I knew that she was a remarkable person in every way.
Sophie loved life, and she loved the world, and she wanted to make it better for people, and she dedicated all of the energy that she had to doing that.
I remember her as someone who was bursting with energy and passion for the big challenges that face the world, from climate change to poverty and, of course, First Nations justice. Soon after she graduated, she returned to the Northern Territory to work at the North Australian Aboriginal Justice Agency, and that was a deeply affecting and formative time for her.
She ultimately realised that fighting on a client-by-client basis wasn't going to fix structural problems, and that was part of her motivation for going to work for law reform, to try and keep these kids that we won't send to war, we don't let them vote, but we do lock them up in prisons, and often they end up in the adult prison system due to resourcing constraints.
The experience of that fueled Sophie's advocacy for the rights of incarcerated children and incarcerated people. She went on to lead Change the Record and spearheaded the campaign to raise the age of criminal responsibility from as young as 10 to at least 14.
And she really, really felt for the kids. You know, she always spoke so highly of how cheeky, smart, resourceful, but because they were poor and black, they ended up in a situation that saw them mucking up and put in prison and potentially put on a pathway to further incarceration. When Sophie died, there was a great outpouring of grief and, shock. But I think for a lot of people, Sophie made them feel a real connection with her.
She was someone who would do anything for a friend, and in the final months of her life, when she was battling her own illness, she would make cards for people, she would make art for people, write poetry, write letters, and some of the most moving cards and letters that I have from Sophie are from those last few months of her life.
I worked and studied on campus for the best part of 25 years. I have known my fair share of superstars who receive international accolades of the highest order, but none who could write an op-ed, cook a meal, bake a cake, coordinate a working group, and mentor a starry-eyed newcomer, all with kindness, laughter, and just seemingly boundless energy for changing the world.
You're going to ask, what would she think about this award? She wouldn't want the attention. She would only want attention put on her work and what she was trying to achieve.
The world has lost one of its best people.